I'm always here to try to help. Whatever I can do, I will do it. I don't want this to happen to nobody else. I was wrongfully incarcerated 28 and a half years. So you're stripped of your name, you're stripped of your identification, and then you suffer from a deficit. So however many years you was incarcerated, time kept going. I'm behind a wall, so I can't see what's going on out here in society. After 20 years, and once my mother had passed, may God bless her soul, I kind of like wanted to give up. And I just wanted to succumb to being a lifer.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. The first thing I want to do is to thank our event committee, the folks who are responsible for putting this event together and for the weather. And that is our new Director of Development who joined us this year, Sarah Nolan. Jessica McClellan, who's been with us for a few years, our Communications and Development Associate. Doris Brogan, who's a member of the board and chair of the event committee. And other board members, Tom Gallagher, Bill Nugent, and Jeff Bresch. Thank you all. It's been a lot of hard work, I know. Well, welcome to everybody to the Pennsylvania Innocence Project's first ever event that is being held in 2 locations simultaneously and being broadcast live over the internet. Simply trying to pull off our first in-person event since 2019 was just not enough of a challenge for the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, and you know we love a challenge. Whether you're in Pittsburgh at Reed Smith's beautiful offices, here at the Free Library of Philadelphia, or somewhere else watching on a screen, welcome to our celebration and thank you so much for coming. Tonight you're going to hear from and about some people whom the Pennsylvania Innocence Project has helped free. And we're going to be honoring certain individuals and teams that were deeply and directly involved in the efforts to free those people. I hope that as you hear those stories and meet those people, you contemplate and take pride in the fact that you made these results possible. If you have ever supported the Pennsylvania Innocence Project financially by assisting with our cases or in any other way, then you deserve credit for literally changing lives. We conduct our daily work through an incredibly talented and dedicated staff, to be sure. But without your support, we do not exist, we cannot do our work, and the lives of the clients we serve would be much different than they are today. So thank you. I want to acknowledge and extend special thanks to our major sponsors for tonight's event. Our pillars of justice are the Haldeman Family Foundation, the Leslie Miller and Richard Worley Foundation, David Richmond and Janet Perry, and Troutman Pepper LLP. And our champions of justice are Jim Brogan and Doris Del Tosto Brogan, Richard and Wendy Glazer, Martin and Cynthia Heckscher, Alicia Horn and Joe H. Tucker Jr., Judy and Peter Leone, Howard and Linda Shear, Blank Rome LLP, FedEx Ground, Morgan Lewis and Bacchius LLP, Reed Smith LLP, and Schneider Harrison Siegel and Lewis LLP. Thank you all for your tremendous support. You will hear tonight about the extraordinary growth that we've experienced at the Pennsylvania Innocence Project in recent years. And in just a few moments, I will have the pleasure of introducing you to our new executive director. But before I do that, I want to note the particular efforts of one member of our project family, and that's Neelam Sangvi. Stand up, Neelam. As many of you know, it sounds like everybody knows, Neelam has been our legal director for nearly a decade. She probably finds that hard to imagine, but it's been nearly a decade. And in that time, she has contributed in some way to almost all of our 23 exonerations. Literally has had a hand in them. As if that were not enough of a workload, though, this year, Neelam volunteered to do even more for the project. When our last executive director decided to retire at the beginning of the year, Neelam stepped forward and she agreed to lead us as our interim executive director and also serve as a member of our search committee for our next executive director until we had a new executive director in place, more or less doubling her already immense workload. I cannot, in a few words, describe for you what that entails or how important it has been to the project, but I can tell you this. What Neelam has done for this organization is extraordinary, and the board could not be more appreciative. Thank you so much, Neelam. And now I want to introduce our new executive director, Meredith Rapkin. Come on up. Meredith is going to begin working with us in just a few weeks on November 1st. Here it comes.
I have to sit back down.
Many of you know or know of Meredith as she's an acclaimed leader in the Philadelphia public interest law community. Almost her entire career since graduating from Temple Law in 2004 has been devoted to public service, and she's most recently been the executive director at Justice at Work, where she worked for more than a decade. She was executive director for more than a decade. We are thrilled that having led Justice at Work to phenomenal growth and success in her time there, Meredith has accepted the challenge of leading the Pennsylvania Innocence Project. We selected Meredith after an exhaustive search, a very exhaustive search, an exhausting search, during which we interviewed several extremely impressive candidates. Meredith stood out from the field and was our clear first choice. She has a track record of success, deep concern for the issues that face the project and our clients, and dedication and energy that will be immediately obvious to anyone who spends a moment in her presence. And I will tell you, Meredith, I've already had people coming up to me tonight saying, I met her. Wow. So there you go. I am delighted to welcome Meredith and to introduce to you the Pennsylvania Innocence Project's next executive director, Meredith Rapkin.
Good evening, everyone. Sam's obviously no pressure based on that introduction. I just wanted to say how honored and happy I am to be here and how much I'm looking forward to leaving my current job where I'm actually still employed, taking a really short break and then joining the project. And I'm super excited to join the team and plan to spend a good bit of time just meeting you all, getting to know the work that you all have been doing and getting to know all of our clients and former clients and really working to lift up their voices and their stories and all of the work that you all have been doing. So thank you so much for this, honor to join this organization. And I look forward to meeting you all individually and talking. And please feel free to reach out to me. I start November 1st and I will want to meet all of you. So thank you. And I'm passing to Neelam, who you obviously all already know.
Welcome, everyone. It's wonderful to see so many familiar and so many new faces joining us tonight, and so many of you that we have only seen on Windows Zoom boxes in the last few years. So that's really a delight to see all of you in person. As Sam mentioned, the Pennsylvania Innocence Project story has really been one of growth since we opened in 2009 and even since I started in 2013. We've gone from just having a couple of employees to a staff is now both in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. from just a few volunteers and interns to now dozens who are actively involved in cases every year. In 2021, our pro bono partners contributed over 6,000 hours of work on our cases, valued at over $3 million. I can't thank you enough. From our first client, Freed Ken Granger in 2010, who's here tonight, to now having welcomed home over 20 clients. Again, a story of growth. And even during the darkest times of the pandemic, our growth continued. Since our last in-person gathering in 2019, we've had many new staff members join us, who I'm so happy to introduce to you tonight in the order that they came on. Clay Waterman, our intake attorney, Haley Philippine, our paralegal, Blanca Castro, our social worker, Michael Belko, our legal fellow in the Pittsburgh office, May Slaughter, our development assistant, Sarah Nolan, our director of development, Ashley Downs, our investigator, and Ryan Becker, the managing attorney of our Philadelphia office. We are delighted to have so many people on our team to help us expand our casework and our reentry services. And I really want to recognize all current and former staff members who are here tonight, who all have gone above and beyond every day and continuing to work with us even when they've left our office at any time we need help, to further our mission of unlocking the truth and freeing the innocent. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Judge McInerney to begin our awards program.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here tonight among so many people who give so much of their lives and careers, etc., to do this work. I'm here to present the Maureen Rowley Award, which obviously has a whole lot of meaning for myself and our daughters. This award was created by the project after Maureen died to recognize her unwavering commitment to justice and representing the indigent through her work as the Chief Federal Defender of the Eastern District. And of course, she was the first woman to have that position. And also her work with the project, which she was very proud of. And as the part of what she did at the Defender's Office was to create the Capital Habeas Unit. And one of the reasons why I'm very happy to be here tonight is because the honoree tonight, I know Michael Wiseman from Defender Parties, because Michael and Maureen worked together. And Michael was the chief of the habeas unit and made it the gold standard for habeas units throughout the country. So with that, thank you very much. It's very important to us that this gets continued for Maureen and that her memory gets continued in this way. So thank you.
I can't think of a more fitting recipient of this year's Maureen Rowley Award than Michael Wiseman. As Judge McInerney alluded to, Michael has spent his entire legal career fighting for the rights of indigent criminal defendants, especially during his service at the Capital Habeas Unit at the Federal Defender's Office here in Philly, that doesn't just work on Philly cases, but whose reach really extends nationwide. And he led that unit from 1995 to 2011. Even when the battles to protect the rights of defendants were difficult, Michael never shied away from making sure that the need for fair representation and just post-conviction laws remained the focus. Michael has been a friend, advisor, and mentor to project attorneys, always helping us if we have questions, always nudging us to think of new ways to work towards a more just system. Michael has also worked closely with us on multiple cases, including the exonerations of Donte Rollins and Lorenzo Johnson. And Donte can tell you best what it means to have Michael Wiseman as your lawyer.
Me and my mom, we hired Michael in like 2012, so probably like 10 years of friendship. It was an honor. Obviously, for those who don't know, I had 125 years in prison. I've been through countless lawyers before I met Michael, so it was an honor. I'm truly blessed, thankful, and grateful to have met him and for him to represent me and for me to be the case to bridge the gap between the two firms or whatever. So I'm just grateful, and he does well deserving of this award.
On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, it's our honor to present you, Michael, with the 2022 Maureen Rowley Award.
Where's your mom? Well, throw this away. I was going to thank the Academy. Pat, where are you, Pat? Where'd you go? Well, it's so moving to have received this award from Pat and all the years that that Maureen and I worked together. And oh boy, she was a champion for justice, and her voice for justice continues to reverberate for those who worked with her and those who've come after her. And she was gone too soon. All right, moving to the lighter part of the program. A shout out to my wife, Judith Ritter, sitting in the front row, who is not only the love of my life and partner, but far more important, she is the co-founder of the Innocence Delaware Project and the president of that board. So I understand Delaware is the home of tax-free exonerations. I also want to recognize tonight my law partner, Carl Schwartz, who's standing over there. Carl was the 2011 winner of the Hero of Justice Award, which is a notch above the Maureen Rowley Award. So I think I may have to, talk to him about that. But when Carl and I joined forces in 2019 and joined our partnership, I knew that I was connecting with a great lawyer, but I never realized so late in life I'd be acquiring a brother. And I've always wanted a little brother. So thank you, Carl. To Donte, where's Ava? Ava. Oh, to Ava Rollins, who is probably the world's best investigator, went out and proved Donte's innocence within 72 hours, presented it all to a lawyer in Philadelphia who proceeded to bollocks the case, and Donte served 10 years as a result of that. And it's just so wonderful to see them out here. And to Lorenzo Johnson, who can't be here today as he's sitting courtside with the San Antonio Spurs, having met that team during some innocence gathering. And of course, Dennis and Lee Horton, who can't be here tonight because they are doing a fundraiser for our hopefully soon to be elected Senator Fetterman. They're in New York. Their collective courage and intrepidness inspires me every day. So I just a couple more words, because I know people don't want to hear a lot of talk tonight, although I could go on. So I had occasion to write a pleading not long ago where I was trying to express how things have changed in the world of innocence. And I came up with what I thought was the sort of catchy head note for that point in the petition, called The Age of Innocence. And what I did was I timed it to, obviously, DNA, to more technologies like video cameras. So we now can see police officers shooting young black men as they flee for their lives. CIUs, correct conviction integrity units throughout the country, and of course in Philadelphia they've done wonderful work, and of course the Innocence Projects. And Neelam, you can't say enough about Neelam, so I'm just going to say an innocence goddess. And this community of innocence and people, innocence hanger-ons, people who work with innocence projects and contribute and do all that stuff, this can't be done alone. And proof of that is that there are two men here tonight, Claudia Trice and Theophilus Wilson, who I represented each of them, and I didn't get them out of jail. It was the person coming after me who got them out of jail. So as I like to think, maybe I loosened the jar a little bit, but they're walking around because of a collective effort. Other institutional offices, my colleagues, my comrades from the Capitol Habeas Unit, Abolitionist Law Project, Lewis Black, who got both Theophilus and Claudia out of jail, Amistad, and of course there are some private counsel of goodwill who do this work. Together, this innocence community is draped over and hanging on the arc of the universe, and you can rest assured they are pulling it closer to justice every day. Thank you. This is deeply moving, and I'm honored.
The Pennsylvania Innocence Project dedicates our award recognizing work by our pro bono partners and volunteer attorneys to Eddie Olbaum, a beloved Temple Law professor and advocate who is an early supporter of our work and a member of our board of directors. Eddie believed that giving back to his community was part of being a lawyer. We feel a link to Eddie every day as we carry out a key part of the project's mission, educating the next generation of lawyers on issues related to innocence and wrongful convictions. Since 2009, we have touched over 1,000 law students through our seminars, clinical programs, and summer internships, and many of our current and former interns are here with us in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia tonight. We'd like to recognize Eddie's wife, Karen Shear, for her continued support, and our many, many volunteer attorneys who were once Eddie's students and caught that spark for justice. It's my pleasure to hand it over to Pittsburgh for the managing attorney of our Pittsburgh office, Liz DeLosa, to present this award.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, we are very proud to award Reed Smith with the award in Eddie Olbaum's name. Like Eddie, lawyers from Reed Smith, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia offices alike have devoted countless hours to the dedication of justice. From the very beginning of the project, Reed Smith attorneys and staff have supported the project and have helped us in all facets of our case review, from conducting initial case evaluations to partnering with us in efforts to restore the freedom of two project clients, Gregory Brown Jr. and also Gregory, who was exonerated this year and joins us tonight, and also David Velasquez, who we are looking forward to welcoming home on October 26th on parole, while we continue to fight to clear his name. On Greg's case alone, a team of Reed Smith attorneys led by Dave Fawcett and Jason Hazelwood devoted over 4,000 pro bono hours and over a decade to obtain relief for Greg. That is the kind of work that it takes to finally untangle a wrongful conviction. It is my honor to present Reed Smith and the attorneys that I worked with on the Greg Brown case with the Eddie Olbaum Volunteer Award. The project simply cannot thank you enough and cannot thank Reed Smith enough for helping us and for supporting us in doing this important work. Jason and Dave.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. I want to thank the whole team. Look, it wasn't 4,000 hours by two people. We looked back and there were probably 20, 25 people that helped us over the years, and just a tremendous team. And most of those people, some are here, some aren't, but we're very thankful. I want to thank and tell you this, that it's been a super honor and privilege to work with the team, but also to work with the Buckner family and Greg. And Greg Brown is here. Greg, come on up and say hi. And with him is his parents, Ron and Darlene Buckner, and his brothers, Fred and Donte Buckner. So shout out to them. My time's limited. I usually, in these events, when I speak, I'm usually the one that gives the little rain on the parade and speaks caustically, because I start launching off into all the horrible things that the government does. And Philadelphia folks really love that, but here I get people that say, can you tone it down just a little bit? So I'm going to try to do that. But the truth is, there are plenty of great police and people who are investigators, but there's some bad apples. And I can take everything I've said in the past and put it into one sentence. We need accountability. And I really think that when we pop open these wrongful convictions, every single one we get is a big step forward to raising the consciousness of this society and raising awareness, so that sooner or later, we as a society will say, no more. We're not going to take this, and there will be accountability for the bad apples. That's it for the speech. On that part, we're going to go positive here. We can't summarize 12 years of work, but Jason and I thought we'd just give a short, not top 10 list, but maybe 6 or 7 of some of the memories that we have from the 12 years. You know, anything you have in your life that's that long, you obviously can't explain and tell, but you can take some snippets out. And for me, you know, one of the best things of being a lawyer and most interesting things is going out and meeting people, witnesses, and getting evidence, you know, talking to people. And in this case, one of my top memories is flying down to Florida and meeting with a guy who's a caddy down there at a golf course. And he also happened to have been a guidance counselor for one of the informants in Greg's case. And he met with me and we talked, and he told in great detail, down to every little thing, how the ATF agents had come up to Reading High School, where he had been a guidance counselor 15 years before, wrote an affidavit and had a 15-year-old kid sign it in exchange for a promise to pay him $15,000. Okay, that was, I'll never forget the detail of that one. The other one was meeting, after setting it up, and meeting the Buckner's neighbor, a woman by the name of Marion Moyer. And I had talked to Greg and knew what had happened at the scene. And I finally met with her and stood with her, and she told me what happened from her view. And it lined up 100%. And it was amazing how she said that Greg and Darlene had come back from the store and had come onto the scene, which was allegedly an arson. They weren't even there. And she saw Darlene, you running down the street, Greg, you coming up the back, the way you told me it had gone down, your eyes big as saucers, screaming, the house is on fire. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget that living room conversation. Jason, did you have any that you wanted to add? And then turn it back to me. I got a couple more.
All right, so I'll be quick. I have 2. And so meeting the evidence and finding the evidence and meeting the witnesses, I recall Dave and I finally tracked down the other witness who had been secretly paid. This gentleman was a grown man, so Dave and I drove out to his house. We couldn't get a hold of him, so we just showed up on his doorstep. He came outside, very leery of both of us at first, started to talk to us, and then eventually got a little comfortable with us, but still kind of leery. So he welcomes us into his home to take us down the basement. So we walk down these kind of rickety steps, kind of go around the corner. He's got a TV on. He sits down and motions Dave and I sit down, and I guess this gentleman didn't want there to be any confusion about us getting out of line, because when we sat down, we but noticed he had a giant handgun laying on the coffee table, just in case we went out of line. Well, I can assure you, we did not get out of the line. And then the second story before I turn it back to the MC here is given my closing argument to the judge. I actually managed to get a chuckle out of the judge on a case as serious as this, because as some of you know, the government's theory evolved many times over time, and I questioned as to why the truth has more than one version, and then asked the judge. Their ultimate theory was that there was a reward given out, but the witnesses didn't know about it beforehand, and we surprised them with the reward after the trial. And I said to the judge, which I was happy to get a chuckle, I said, when is the last time the government showed up on your doorstep with some free surprise money? Because for me, I'm batting zero on that. And got a chuckle from the judge, so I put that in the win column for this case.
Jason's closing was tremendous. It was great. 3 real quick things about Greg. You aren't escaping this one. So my 3 top memories about Greg was the first time I was up in the conference room of the jail with the concrete block and steel doors, and Greg asking me, my chances were, and that's a tough question to hear when you're meeting with a client early on in a situation like this, and ultimately took 12 years to prove that the chances were ultimately high. Secondly, coming out of the PCRA hearing after Jason gave his closing and going and meeting in that same conference room and telling Greg, look, I've tried a lot of cases and had a lot of hearings. This one went perfectly. That was sweet. And I think the one that really sticks with me was the night Greg was released from the county jail. And parents were a little late picking him up, remember that, but we got him. And we went up to a all-you-can-eat steakhouse called the Green Forest. And boy, we had a lot of fun, but I'll never forget they had a buffet there. And Greg had been in prison since age 17. And there they have mushroom caps and king crab legs and all these other things. And Greg said to me, what the hell is this stuff? Remember that? We had a lot of fun. Hey, really, really, really honored to have the opportunity. It's one of the honors of my life to be able to work on this case with Jason, with your family, and with so many of you. So thanks so much for being here, and thanks for your help.
Thank you, Dave and Jason and Greg. I would also like to take this opportunity to just acknowledge the exonerees that have come home back to their family and their friends and their loved ones, people who, like Greg's family, supported them through years and years of wrongful incarceration. So please join us in welcoming home here from Pittsburgh, Gregory Brown. And also Daniel Carnevale, who unfortunately could not be here with us tonight because of an illness, but has been home for a few years now, and other than being sick, is doing very well. And I am going to pass it back to Neelam in Philadelphia to acknowledge our Philadelphia exoneree since 2019.
And here in Philadelphia, since our last gathering in 2019, we've been happy to recognize and welcome home and see the exonerations of Donald Outlaw, and of Andrew Swainson. And I'll ask our board president, Sam Silver, to come up and present the Hero of Justice Award.
The highest honor that we bestow at the Pennsylvania Innocence Project is our Hero of Justice Award. We give this award to an individual who has shown sustained commitment to achieving justice for all. This year's winner of the Hero of Justice Award, Thomas B. Schmidt, is an embodiment of the concept of sustained commitment to achieving justice for all. Tom, come on up, please. Where is he? There he is, right there, right in front. Tom Schmidt, who is with Troutman Pepper, formerly Pepper Hamilton, as many in Philadelphia still think of it, and elsewhere that is, has had a distinguished legal career. He's known as a leading trial lawyer, and he was the longtime managing partner at Pepper's Harrisburg office. Tom has been a supporter of the Pennsylvania Innocence Project since our founding, from our very start 13 years ago. But in 2013, Tom took a giant leap forward in his involvement with us and with our clients. 2013 is when we filed our first petition, our first post-conviction petition in Harrisburg for our client, Larry Trent Roberts. And 2013 is when Tom Schmidt volunteered to join us as co-counsel and put together a team of attorneys to work on Trent's case. And work on that case they did. Tom spent the next 6 years working on Trent's case, as together, first we secured a new trial for Trent, and then Tom and the project won a full acquittal for Trent at a jury trial in Harrisburg. Tom was the, yes, absolutely. So it was the Pennsylvania Innocence Project's first new trial, actually. Many of these cases get resolved short of, most of them, almost all of them, short of the need to go to a jury trial. That was our first jury trial for the Pennsylvania Innocence Project. And Tom was the lead lawyer in the courtroom. He opened and closed for the defense, and it was a difficult case. It was a case that required persuading the jurors that supposed eyewitness identifications of Trent were not correct. Having spent more than half a decade working on Trent's case, Tom certainly earned the right, after that acquittal, to return to being a strong but quiet supporter of the Pennsylvania Innocence Project. But he did not choose to do that, because that's not who Tom Schmidt is. Instead, he stepped forward again to assist one of our other clients and our other trial teams as a strategy consultant, and he worked on our appeal after a verdict that did not go our way. As Michael Wiseman noted, and it's so true, sometimes they don't break your way. If you take the tough cases, they're not always going to go your way, and that's part of what it's all about, and sticking with it. Tom has also continued to help the project in a wide variety of ways, including he has assisted with referrals for reentry resources for our central Pennsylvania clients, including one very special client whom many of you had the opportunity to meet and hear about, the late Terry Smallwood. Terry Smallwood, this is remarkable, it boggles my mind. Tom was actually, I am told, an English teacher of Terry Smallwood's in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, back when. And Tom helps us with reentry resources for people like Terry when we do win and when they're able to come home. Tom also regularly provides us with a home base, including, I'm told, free parking passes or just parking passes? Free parking passes. And I extend that offer to any of you when you're in central Pennsylvania. Just ask Tom. At the Troutman Pepper office for any meetings or events we have in central Pennsylvania, regardless of whether he's directly involved. On a much more serious note, he serves as a sounding board for litigation strategy decisions. He mentors project attorneys and investigators. And because that's not enough, Tom volunteers his time to co-teach the project's innocence and wrongful convictions class at his law school alma mater, Dickinson Law, furthering our mission of training the next generation of lawyers. And this is particularly important because the students in this class frequently represent a mix of future prosecutors and future public defenders. And if that's not our audience, other than the future judges, you need a few of them in the mix too. I don't know what is. I truly and sincerely, Tom, hope that you don't mind me telling our audience that you graduated from Dickinson Law in 1974, which means that Tom has been practicing law for nearly 50 years. Tom, yes, indeed. Tom Schmidt has had a full, exemplary legal career before he began working with the Pennsylvania Innocence Project. And ours is not Tom's first public service work. Tom is a fellow of his firm's Pepper Center for Public Service and vice chair of its board. And in 2005, Tom was a member of the legal team, and I'm sure many of you have heard of this case, that tried before a judge and won the case about the teaching of intelligent design in public schools. The case was called Kitzmiller versus Dover Area School District. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. There's plenty of information about there. It was a groundbreaking case in the Central District of Pennsylvania. And in that case, Tom's team persuaded a federal district court judge that the required teaching of a form of creationism in public schools violated the United States Constitution. Yet, after 50 years and at a time when some would rest and reflect on a brilliant career, Tom charged ahead anew and charges ahead anew, dedicating himself to our mission and to our clients. And we are all enriched because of Tom's work on our behalf. Tom Schmidt is our hero of justice.
Trent Roberts' case was the first one I worked on at the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, and I couldn't have asked for a better partner in learning how to do this work than Tom Schmidt. We also can't say enough about Tom and his wife Donna, who truly have opened their hearts and their home to our staff and clients. Trent's trial is the first one where lead counsel cooked me dinner the night before we were going to do opening statements, even when he had a lot of other things on his mind. They are truly friends and mentors. And once again, no one can speak to the work of our award recipients better than our clients themselves. And I would invite Trent to say a few words.
Of course, y'all know I'm nervous. Tom, I just want to say thank you, man. This moment wouldn't be possible without you. I owe you everything. So we're going to present you with this award.
For the forgivable exaggeration. I'm grateful for it. This room is full of people who have worked hard for those who are served by the Innocence Project, who have worked in other areas of public service law in Philadelphia. I know many of them. I'm old enough and have poor enough eyesight that I can sort of see the shadows of people I know. And on behalf of the Innocence Project, thank you for coming out. If my son Nick made it, I'm delighted to have him here. Donna is here, my wife, somewhere, and I think I've tried to summarize what it is that it means to be married to someone who is a lawyer. So there are no secrets and no mysteries and no surprises. Donna's practicing litigator, was with Pepper and then briefly with Troutman after the merger. But she's done the most important thing that a spouse or partner can do for someone who wants to do pro bono work. And that is never said no, always said yes. Couldn't thank her more. Means the world. I want to thank Neelam for being a teacher and a mentor to me. I'm older and taller than she is, but I have learned more from Neelam since I started working on Innocence Project cases than I could possibly describe if I stood here all night. She is one of the most extraordinary lawyers I know. And in the description of Trent's case, and thank you for coming down, Trent, I used this phrase once before when I was trying to explain to somebody my role and Neelam's role. I said, Charlie McCarthy, Edgar Bergen. She figured the case out. The preparatory work was exemplary. I have touted that to the students that we teach at the law school. I've talked about it to lawyers at Pepper and Troutman Pepper. The virtues of thoroughness and preparation are embodied by Neelam. And to the extent the Innocence Project is successful as often as it is, it's because she sets the standard, and frankly, as we all know, she does a lot of the work. So we're all beneficiaries of that, and it means the world to go into a courtroom knowing that Neelam got you ready, and I appreciate that. I have, I'll take the example from my colleagues in Pittsburgh and tell one story about the trial. And it came after the verdict. Couldn't be more emotional in a courtroom than that. And what you have to sense, because I won't describe it very well, is just how small the courtrooms are in Dauphin County. Maybe 4 pews back, and then the cockpit for the courtroom. And Trent's family and supporters and friends were on the bride's side, that's right. And the family of Mr. Stern, who was murdered and for whose murder Trent was wrongfully convicted, were on the other side of the courtroom all the time. When that case was over and the jury came back with its verdict, everybody was very emotional. There were a lot of tears in the courtroom, but the moment I will never forget was when Trent, who is a man of enormous emotional poise and dignity, walked across that space and embraced Stern's mother, and that was a moment that is hard to describe in more words. But in addition to the reverse of the conviction, something at a I don't know whether word besides religious and spiritual level happened that was important to everybody who was in that room with Trent. And so, to the extent that the Innocence Project, to pick up a theme that was used earlier, is helping to heal our society in a small moment, that's what we saw then. And to the extent we can continue this important work, I hope there are more moments like that that people will be able to participate in. Now, the last thing I'd like to say, and I suffer from ancient mariner syndrome, so I'm going to stop with a quotation. And I've probably used this on Neelam before, and other people that are close friends of mine have probably heard it before or heard something similar before. But there's a guy who's known as William the Silent. He was a leader of the struggle to free the Netherlands from the Spanish Empire. The interesting thing about William the Silent, and I'll stop with this anecdote because I can't do the whole story, is that the silent is not a word of praise. It's one of the lowest moments in his career. He didn't speak when he should have said something, but he went on to fight for his country, for freedom, for religious equality, such as it was in that part of our history. But he had a motto, if you will, and that's what I'd like to leave this with, because I think in a way it's a motto that applies to the work of the Innocence Project. His motto was, "One need not hope in order to undertake. One need not succeed in order to persevere." So anyway, thanks for turning out. Okay.
So close to wrapping up, but before we do, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you all to join me in recognizing and thanking all of our volunteers, both those with us tonight in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia and those who could not join us. Please stand if you've worked on a case with us and you were lucky enough to get a seat. You are truly partners with us in the fight for justice. So thank you to our volunteers. And most importantly, please join me in recognizing all of the freed and exonerated individuals who are here with us tonight. You are the reason. You're the reason we are here, and it's your fighting spirit and your freedom that we celebrate. I'd like to invite our board secretary, Kevin Mincy, to close out our program.
Thank you, Neelam, and good evening, everybody. Like Neelam, I want to thank everybody who joined us in person here in Philly and in Pittsburgh, and for all of our friends who are watching online from all around the world. We really appreciate your support. This is a reminder that for every freed and exonerated person that is in this room tonight or in Pittsburgh tonight, there are many, many more who are still incarcerated and still need our help. And so to that end, I want to remind folks that we have a silent auction for books that tell the stories of the criminal justice system in the back of the room over here. And there are QR codes for you all to continue to donate generously as you have before, and as I know you will continue to do in the future. So with that, I want to invite everyone to enjoy the fellowship. It's good to be out of the Zoom boxes. Take some time and enjoy each other, but please donate because the cause is important and the fight continues. So thanks for coming out, and everyone have a good night.